Hi, humans. It's Zoe London from proverbs, and welcome back to our little Bible study series where we are lifting the veil of theocracy on Christianity by reading what is actually in the Bible. And I just wanted to take a second to remind you what that means. And that is basically that it's really important to know what's actually in the Bible because of the fact that in so many Western societies, there are a lot of groups of people that will try to use um, verses that are almost like intentionally misinterpreted in the Bible to justify basically oppressing other people, taking advantage of other people, forcing other people to accept less while they take more. Very much that, televangelist, God says that you have to buy me a private jet sort of thing. And as somebody that really discovered my faith in adulthood, it was quite remarkable to me actually reading the Bible and being like, this is absolutely nothing like what I thought Christianity was about based on what I've been told and what I've seen from a lot of Christian people. Obviously, not everybody's like that, but unfortunately, it is a problem, right? Anyhow, so we're going to go over verses 13 and 14 in chapter 3 of the book of Proverbs, and they say, "Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof, than fine gold." So we've heard this in a lot of different contexts, both religious and non-religious. And what that basically means is, again, like, teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime, but like buy a man a fish and only feed him for a day. You know what I mean? Or like, I think Pitbull says this in one of his songs where he's like, ask for money and get advice, ask for advice, get money twice. And it's like, honestly, he was so real for that. But basically, like, if you are prioritizing just getting money as quickly as possible, or just power, just gain, just any form of just gain that isn't wisdom, you aren't necessarily going to know how to keep it, right? And you aren't necessarily going to know how to get more of it versus wisdom. Wisdom is incredibly important to have because of the fact that that's going to allow you to move through your world and move through the rest of your life, from a place of abundance and from a place of knowing that you are capable of creating the wealth that you need, creating the wealth that you want, doing so in a way that is, beneficial to other people around you. It's not going to cause you any enemies. It's going to cause you allies, that sort of thing. Wisdom is very important because of the fact that it teaches you like street smarts, right? It teaches you empathy, and it also teaches you what to avoid. And, we all fall into pitfalls in our lives where maybe we were just trying to do what we thought was right, but it was from a very self-motivated place. Or maybe we were just fully focused on accruing as much wealth, accruing as much power as possible, but we didn't take the time to recognize if what we were doing for short-term gain was going to have negative long-term consequences for us. And again, I think that a great sort of analogy is accruing wealth, power, status, any of that from a place that is unwise is like taking out a money mart loan on your future. And it's really important to put yourself in a position where you are able to wait a little bit longer to get what you actually want, or to be able to get to where you want to be from a place that it's not going to be destroyed by any of your own folly or any external circumstance. It's like, the three little pigs, right? Where one pig built his house out of straw, and then the wolf that just had a great diaphragm, I guess, was able to blow it down. And then the second pig, I think he made his house out of wood, which again, contextually is not a bad thing. But in the concept of the story, I think the wolf still blew it down. Again, I don't know why this wolf is like blowing things down, but it's what he does. But then the third pig, even though it took a lot longer, he had done, I guess, a bunch of research, and he decided to build his house out of stone. And when the wolf came and tried to blow his house down, he couldn't, because of the fact that the house was built on an incredibly strong, sturdy foundation that was built to last. So that is why wisdom is so important, right? Because of the fact that when you know that what you're doing is the smartest thing for you to do in a long-term context, whether or not that's how you speak about people to their face or behind their back. For me personally, I don't gossip about people unless I have good things to say about them, right? That sort of thing. Socially, if you get a reputation for being a shit talker, that's going to fuck you over as soon as somebody tells somebody else something, right? If you try to accrue as much wealth and status and power as possible by simply taking from other people, it's going to get to the point where your little house of cards, it's going to fall down. If you try to gain as much money as possible in a way that is not like sustainable, that's going to run out. And if you're not wise about it, you're just going to end up in a situation where you can't continue to make that same amount of money. And, what are you going to do? Right. So it's really important to find wisdom, because not only are you able to plan and execute what you would like to execute in your life successfully and with a long-term vision, but the happiness also comes from having the peace that comes from not having to second guess yourself, not having to question what you're doing, not having to look over your back and look over your shoulder. Wisdom, don't make enemies, stuff like that, right? Yeah, and just having that inner peace while you're doing what you're doing is also incredibly important, because it allows you to enjoy the process as well. So that is what verses 13 and 14 of chapter 3 of the book of Proverbs say. So thank you very much, everybody who has taken the time to watch these videos, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, cool. We'll be back for the next one. Thank you.